Hello, everyone. This is another Freedom to Feel conversation, and my guest today is Rebecca Paris. She is a Gene Keys and spiritual guide, a fine artist, a blogger, and the founder of raisingthevibe.org. That's a website, a nonprofit. So, what's not to love about everything that you have been doing, that you are doing, and that you have become? Although my feeling is that we always have been that. It's not really that something that we become. We're already what we are meant to be, but for some reason we just forget it or let it be covered. So it's a journey of uncovering, unlearning. That's what it feels to me. But a question that I want to ask you from the get-go that I ask all my guests is, how do you see yourself? Who is Rebecca as of this moment? And how did you get here?
Yeah, great question. Well, I guess I'll start with a really big picture because I believe that we are all a spark of the divine. Right. We are spiritual beings in human form having an experience, and we are a combination of energy and consciousness here. In this life, I would describe myself as, for one, a seeker of truth. Also the mother of 2 young adult children who have really been my biggest teachers through this life. I am a spiritual guide, founder of Raising the Vibe, portrait artist, and a writer at this point. So thank you. And you said, how did I get here? Is that what?
The story. It's the backstory.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. I mean, how did I get here is the biggest loaded question, but how did I awaken spiritually? Maybe your question.
Yeah.
So, it is interesting. Like, many spiritual teachers, I think, often started out as children feeling something or, connection to spirit, or they have had like an actual, like, totally out of body experience to wake them up, or something really tragic. And I'm really none of those. But it's just been sort of a gradual awakening. I lived a very 3D life, I would call it, most of my life, and not really awakening until, my life was going pretty well by all of the 3D models and achievement and just doing it right according to the Matrix, as I call it. And then when I had my children, it really awakened me because they're very sensitive, neurodiverse. I would call them indigos, if that's a familiar term with you. And then navigating them through the school system about did me in. And it really awakened me to the problems of this reality, the pharmaceutical drugs, what it does, and then just dealing with 2 beautiful souls who don't fit in to this matrix. Right. And then it just kind of went from there. But we can talk about that. Another question, probably.
Yes, I would love to. God, there's so much that you said there. Beautiful souls that don't really fit into this reality, the way it is, the way we have created, or the way we have. I don't know. I have this mix. It's basically, I do not think that this has been created. I think we, it's not even a thinking thing. It's very intuitive. When I was very little, I remember looking at myself in the mirror and then saying something like, "Oh, you're here again. And now you're in a female body." So I was about 7 years old, 7, 6. So that really changed everything when it comes to my search for truth and what this was. That was my frame. That was my starting point. Wait a minute. I already knew this. That's not my first time here. So in a way, it seems like we are not created. It seems like we are just kind of moving, dancing, appearing as different entities in different bodies, different expressions. And I don't know, does it resonate with you somehow, this idea?
Absolutely. I think we're more like live streams, and we're having this experience, and we're multidimensional. I think I believe in the past lives, but I believe they're all kind of happening simultaneously
Mm,
because we are multidimensional beings and we're having a consciousness experience in this 3D reality, but our whole energetic light body is so much more. And I think what you said at the beginning is
right.
we're taking the debris off and the blindfold to wake up into our fullness and who we really are.
Right. Yes. I love that word too. Fullness. The topic is our blended reality, the ego versus the divine self. So
Mhm.
that is just fascinating to explore this idea of different realities. As you
Mhm.
mentioned, we are multidimensional beings, which is very much true. And I mean, for me, and I know there's a lot of people here that they think the same way. How did we get so focused on one dimension, and why? Do you have any idea how we have kind of we have created the ego, created quote
Mhm.
unquote? How did
Mhm.
that happen? Coming from wholeness, is that possible? Even
Yeah, and that's the question of a lifetime, and that's what been spending a lot of time searching and seeking. So my perspective is that we are whole. We
yeah,
are playing in this reality. It feels like a video game kind of in a way, like we're the Sims,
yes,
and and we are the pieces on the puzzle being played,
mm,
and it's an experience. And I think we lost our separation, and it could have been in a myriad of ways, through different multidimensional realities, and we lost connection to our higher self through the DNA. I believe it's through the DNA strands,
right,
um,
uh,
and then so we got lost in the illusion. And so as lost, once we're in the illusion, then we kept forgetting about who we really are and became more connected to the five senses and just the pleasures of this world, because it is very enticing, and then just forgot ourselves. And I also believe it has been orchestrated by beings that may not be of the highest light to take advantage of us who really forgot who we were at a spiritual level, that are so powerful and co-creators.
mm, gosh, Rebecca, yes. So when you say illusion, this illusory
Mhm.
reality, Vedanta talks about a dream. So it's almost like we get stuck in a dream and now we believe that we are
Mhm.
the dreamer, that we are just, that's the reality now. And we forget that we are in bed sleeping peacefully. And now we're having all
Mhm.
these experiences and we really believe that that's real. And
Yes.
in a way, it is enticing, but also it feels like some people have said it is a choice too. That some of us
Mhm.
actually are choosing, even
Mhm.
those who know how to manipulate reality and knows
Mhm.
that. Now, you mentioned about people who are actually doing this on purpose, which is hard to
Mhm.
believe. They must be coming from ignorance too. Not
Yes.
they're not in touch with the self, so that's
Right.
why the divine self. But even from that perspective, so in a way, it's coming from ignorance, but in
Mhm.
not in a pejorative way, but in a way
Mhm.
of not knowing oneself. So you don't know your own being. So is that possible to, from your perspective, it's a practice for me, but
Mhm.
can we completely live in this divine reality?
I believe Yeah, I believe that's what we're here to do, especially now. And I do believe I chose to come here at this
Yeah, yeah,
time. And I think possibly some souls may be in the illusion and feel like there's forced reincarnation. My belief is that I came in here for a mission, and that is to collect the soul fragments that have been left behind through unconscious traps and many lives, and then pull them
yeah.
back, integrate the polarities into that neutral force, and come back to wholeness. And it's like bringing that consciousness and having to be in the 3D to do it, but then
Uh,
slowly going through the life which brings back all of us back together. And by doing that, we can help the whole. I mean, we are one, but we
right.
also are, I believe, conscious beings, very multidimensional conscious beings, that part of us through these incarnations has gotten lost. And we need to bring that home to us. And I think that's the journey, especially now in this, what I believe is the ascension cycle.
Mm, yes, yeah. Some people believe that they actually don't gravitate towards that idea of wholeness because they believe that they will disappear, and then they will no longer exist once you merge with, unity with absolute reality or consciousness, pure consciousness. So, from my perspective, we're already that. This is already it, even though it seems like multitude and it seems to have a lot of parts here, but it's one again. It keeps going. To me, the message is this is already whole, complete. This is it. And this is everything. And then kind of the body and the mind, they settle for some reason. Peace sets in, and they are no longer striving to do things, although the body, mind is doing a lot of things. But there's this ground of peace. It's very interesting. It kind of holds everything, and nothing's really happening there.
I've heard you say that before, and it got me thinking that I came about it the other way. And so when I started awakening, I heard that we are all one and that I am you and you are me. But I needed some stair steps to get there because I believed it. But I'm like, well, if that's true, how did I get here? Why am I so different than my neighbor? And why am I here? What is my unique purpose? So I really had to go in to find self first and to understand my archetype and my imprint and my purpose through the Akashic record and human design and gene keys, and that really helped me stair step into understanding that we are one, but we are just having a different experience, because if we're all one, we can't really have an experience. We wanted to experience like our unique blueprint. And I think we do have a unique spark that was always with us. And we want to explore what that looks like. And being on the physical plane, it's a beautiful way to do that. So I believe we're cosmic citizens and that we do retain who we are at some level, and we can blend back in, but we're so connected to unity that there's no opposites. You don't have to pick one or the other, that we are everything, but we are also can be our cosmic individual self, connected to the divine.
Yes. So talk to me a bit more about this. So the blended reality, I know you created a free ebook titled The Matrix Resurrections Unraveled. And you're also the co-creator of an online course called Awakening to the Real You. I mean, I love everything that you do. The body mind is very devoted to these things. It's almost like in a devotional type of way. It's funny. Like I see you and I see what you're doing and all these words that kind of opens the heart. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is, it's beyond awakening. You're just returning to what you are. So talk to me about the Matrix. What is the Matrix, and how do we learn to step by step get out of it?
Yes. Great question. It's like the water that you were talking about. But I've been really inspired by movies that I just really feel like they're just telling so much truth. And then when The Matrix, that whole series, The Matrix, came out, I watched them all. And then the last one, which was The Matrix Resurrections, really just spoke to me. It's like, oh, this is totally a mirror of what is really happening in our reality. And so I go in this book, I just really go through Neo and what he, that he's re-enlivened to be on Earth again. He doesn't, can't believe that he's back, after he got blown up in the other one. And he's working on the binary computer, there's so many symbols in there. So again, that's duality. And what I think we're trying to bring in, and of course, his partner is Trinity. And so it's going from duality to Trinity. And this movie, which I've really, unraveled, is how we are in a matrix. And I believe there's as my work on this course is that there's a false matrix and an organic matrix. I believe the organic matrix was what we originally came in to do. We just wanted to experience ourselves in a body and express and create and have some free will. And then I do believe that we lost connection to, for various reasons, lost connection to our divine. And then unfortunately, I believe other beings that maybe didn't have the best interests at heart kind of came and created another reality on top of the organic matrix. And that's really more of an AI reality. And I think that's more anti-life. And then the organic matrix is just to express and enjoy and create. all the good things, but the inorganic matrix, which I think we've been kind of trapped in for most of us, because there's so much. How else would you explain all the war and then the survival of the fittest mentality and then the corporation? There's just no reason other than the fact that this is not right. It's almost like a reversal of the organic matrix. But this movie really talks about it. You see him in realizing that there is so much more than you can see the therapist pulling him back into the old or inorganic matrix. And at the end, there's so much to it, but at the end, he really realizes that the therapist says, you can, maybe you can create rainbows, but there's a lot of people who want my reality, meaning the comfort of what they've always known. So that movie's just packed full of all sorts of ideas to help you really realize you're in a matrix and knowing that you have the sovereignty to walk out. And you need the courage to do so, but there's techniques on how to do it.
Yes, and that's a big one. Courage. And do you believe that courage comes from the self? Is it coming from the divine self?
I do fully believe it comes from the divine self.
Yeah, it's guiding us back to it.
Guiding us. I think we're always guided, and it's just a matter of how much we just sit in stillness and listen versus all of the distractions and the phone and the technology and the external world really keep us from being, or realizing the divine self that's just always there, waiting for that whisper to be heard.
Yes, Rebecca, that's true. And for people watching this that kind of are beginning to explore this idea of what is a divine self, what does it feel like, and how do we express, this human life through the divine self? Talk to me a little bit about the qualities of it.
Yeah, I believe it's taking off all the mask and just being, and there's no worry about what other people will think. You just stop worrying about that. And that's so hard for people, just to let go of how they are appearing in the external world. And you just are authentically yourself, and you're fully okay with that. And then you just start gravitating to self-love and stepping out of identities. I mean, I think the identities really keep us trapped into I'm a vegan, or I'm a mother, or I'm an accountant, and you get trapped into an identity when you're not that, and being able to step out of all those things you said you were and just be who you are, and be the compassionate witness to this world. That's who you really are. And that, I think, is the divine self. And the divine self is motivated by the heart, motivated by love and compassion. So
yes, a billion times to that. Yes, because it has to do with unity. Again, it knows it's part of everything. It knows that that's me, everything. It's me. So it can't really, not an individual way, of course, as that there's overarching reality. So yeah, it's almost like I heard before beautifully through Vedanta that it's not that everything is God, it's that everything is in God. Is in. So it's almost, again, that ocean with the fish that we are just swimming in it. Oh, Eddie, there's nothing that's not.
I agree completely with that.
Yeah.
It's the tapestry. God is the tapestry of everything that ever is and ever will be.
Right.
And we are like the waves that are created in this form that come up to show some individual self and have an experience, but then go back.
Yes. So how do you dance between those two worlds of accepting the unacceptable and doing what you can do with the free will that we have, coming from the heart and doing this beautiful work? How do you balance those two?
Yeah, that's a tough one. And sometimes I have a hard time balancing it. I'm a resident of Western North Carolina and just went through Hurricane Helene. It devastated neighbors. It wiped people. And at some level, the tragedy was so hard to accept from the human level, and just all the pain, right? Yes. And then there's other times where I know that at some level, it doesn't help to go into that suffering and lower my frequency to just be there, even though I have complete compassion. But it's the mastery of becoming the compassionate witness, which is looking at it from a neutral perspective, because I think to go back home, to bring heaven to earth, we have to balance the polarities. And if we're stuck in a polarity of and making it so real,
Right.
then we're not able to get back to that neutral force, which is the God force. So the best thing we can do is allow, first of all, accept, and then embrace. And that's some of the teachings of the Gene Keys, which is when something like that happens, you just have to just allow it in, because we are everything. So we have to allow it. If we, what we resist persists. So if we push that away, saying that's not me and that's horrible, which it is, we can have boundaries to deal with that. But at some level, as a God being, when you ascend to a certain level, you take it all in, and you transmute the energy through your neutrality. And it's hard to do, but I think that is the answer to get us out of this illusion and duality. We have to bring in the Trinity to get out of the consumptive dual reality that we are living in.
Yes. So I want to go back to how to escape the matrix, because I made a list here. I think I found this on your book. Sure. It was in your book. Yes.
Yes.
So you speak of personal choice to explore and awake and know thyself. That's a big one, isn't it? Because once you know yourself, that's it. So talk to me a bit more about body consciousness. I have a kind of funny, interesting perspective about that, but I would love to hear more from your perspective. What is body consciousness?
Since we are connected to the whole, our cells and our body actually do remember, but our mind doesn't. So I think that's why, I think I gave the example of when Neo and Trinity shook hands, and there's something that lit up just by that physical touch, because the cells remember.
Yes.
And I'm getting chills right now just talking about that's body consciousness. Your body remembers, but your mind and your limited consciousness here doesn't. So tapping into the body consciousness. And one of the things that really has been a staple in my awakening is applied kinesiology, which is a good friend of mine does that. It's the muscle testing, and you can really determine truth, because your body does know, because it's connected to the whole, it's connected to the divine, even though we consciously don't. So it can help us heal the subconscious layers that are playing out, that keep playing this record of trauma, and just start consciously letting them go. So I find myself thinking of myself as a biocomputer and starting to program myself every day. What is my intention? What am I going to do? And I'm literally programming myself, or deprogramming the things that don't serve, that I realize that I put in the program through genetics or this life or past lives or whatever. So that's body consciousness to me.
Yeah, that also resonates from the level of nature, right? The natural world. The body's part of this. So it would makes a lot of sense. It's connected to all this, the things here. Yes. Because of my kind of passion, I would say, or longing for the big picture, I'm always focusing on pure consciousness, which is not really, it doesn't, of course, it is the body too. The body's in it. It's not the body, but the body's in it. So it can align with that energy, but it's sometimes it doesn't though. I have heard of some spiritual teachers that have reached a very high level of consciousness, like really connected to that part of them that's the self, but the body and the mind really didn't, said no to it and kind of kept going to it's doing its own thing. Right. So, and he just kind of became the witness. He was a woman too, Ananda Maima. It's another beautiful saint from India. So she did the same thing. So they just kind of watched the body and the mind do what they had to do. It's almost like it's almost like a wheel it has been moving, and now you can't really completely stop it. It's like getting out of the bike, jumping out of a bike that's going really fast. Yes. So the bike will continue to go. So that's my perspective. But of course, I would love for my body, my mind kind of align with divine. Yes. Completely merge. Yes. But I think, and I have heard that once that happens, you really have no really sense of purpose anymore here, because that's it, that you have arrived already, and fully what you are. So now you have no sense of purpose. And basically, you just let the body and mind do what they do, and you're not really trying to control it or
Yeah.
move it in any specific direction. So I don't know. Have you heard about that before? That's something that I always
Yeah.
study and I'm curious about it.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question, and I've gone through the journey, had different perspectives on it throughout. And my perspective now is part of the reason we are in a body is to spiritualize the body, to
Mm.
bring the divine into this vehicle, to not just let the body go and die. And I don't think we had the frequency on earth to do anything else with the body before. But now I think we can recode our DNA to
Ah.
remember fully our spiritual self and completely merge the body so we can take it with us and just transmute out of the reality with the body. There's no reason to leave the body
Mm.
anymore. There was
Mm.
before because I
Yeah.
don't think it was a possibility. But now I do. I really feel with the ascension cycle and the energies and the plasma energies that are coming in, we can actually consciously connect the so-called junk DNA and recode them to become outside of the carbon base into a silicate base.
Gosh, that's the work that you do with the gene keys.
The gene keys are really understanding your imprint that you came in with, and it really shows you where you are, what your shadows are.
Mm.
You know, your particular imprint, what the shadows are that you inherited or came in with, and then it helps you find what they call the cities, which is your divine self. It's the divine essence. So my life's they have in the gene keys, you have your purpose, your radiance, where you thrive, your evolution, your key, which is your biggest challenge in this life, and your life's work. And that's like your brand. And they have the shadow frequency, the gift level frequency, and the Siddhic frequency. And you're here to actually come into balance. And my particular gene keys in my evolution is the prime masculine key, which is entropy to beauty. And then my life's work, which works with it, trying to come into balance, is it goes into unity, and it's the prime feminine. So my gene keys are saying you are here to balance the prime masculine and the feminine. And I had some conflict to peace and this core of my being that I'm really trying to balance the two, the magnetic and the electric. And I felt like have been in the masculine most of my life to feel like I needed to protect people, protect myself. And the work now in the journey is just being more and being more receptive and
Mm.
trying to balance both of those energies, because that's what I believe brings us in to be able to transmute you bring in the whole DNA code to transmute the body or take it with us.
Yes, I love that, Rebecca. Taking the body with us in this
Yes.
spiritual journey that we're already there. Right. So basically, you're saying that this the self, the divine self, is also evolving. It's always evolving. It's just something that's, for my understanding, it doesn't really do anything. It's kind of
Hmm.
the witness of it all,
Yeah.
the compassionate witness, as you said.
Hmm.
But what is evolving then? I'm wondering here.
I think it's just our awareness is evolving, that we are accreting more of everything's here is around us. Everything is right here. It's us being able, through conscious awareness and through doing all of these tools, to be able to accrete more frequency, to be able to hold more God particles in
Mm,
our light body.
mm, yeah.
So it's just expanding. It's almost like expanding. So technically, there's evolution of when we're seeking, we're trying to evolve, but there's involution, the divine finding
Mm,
us. So it's trying to come into that beautiful match, but it's accreting more God particles to become expanded and become who we really are.
gosh, I love that. Yeah. I'm wondering, like you mentioned, I mentioned fully human and fully divine, to bring the
Mm-hmm.
God particles
Mm-hmm.
here.
Mm-hmm.
So what would that look like? You would be a good example of that. Is there other people that you can name? So because reference are very interesting, like to look at them, say, wait a minute, I can be more like this.
Yes, I don't. Yeah, I don't know. I've got a good friend who I feel almost that might do a quantum leap out of this universe,
Mm.
or
Yeah.
I don't know. Like it's just like, and the reference of Jesus being in the world but not of it, and
Right,
you
right.
you see the masters in the Far East that can transmigrate, that they can be here now, and they have full full capability to cosmically appear and disappear, you know, at that level of what it looks like. And you can appear as this body or another body at that level, because we are just pure consciousness. So
Right.
I'm not there yet. But I've got some people that are definitely on the road to that. So it'll be really interesting to see in the next 10 years what people who are very connected and, you know, pulled their whole divine self into the body, what actually does happen. It's going to be a beautiful movie to watch.
Yeah. Have you heard about this? It's another Indian. What's his name? Yogananda. Have you heard about him? That he used, I think that's how he left the body when he wanted, specifically that day, that time. And he would slow down his breathing to the point of almost not breathing. And then he would sleep anytime that he wanted to put the body to sleep. So all these things, that it feels to me like, it's almost trying to control, like you have full control of the machine, right? This machine here, which it is a computer. God, does it go back to one of the items that you mentioned, to escape the matrix? We need to know ourselves. Is that what it is? Tap into our power. Yes. Those that can be supernatural in that sense.
Absolutely. It's to know, and it can be to know yourself as your archetype, but it ultimately is to know yourself as your true divine self.
Yes. So it doesn't have to be making all these extraordinary moves, and because it would be amazing to kind of also see bringing this to the 3D reality in a sense of love and kindness.
Yes.
Coming from the truth that we're all connected, and treating the earth and ourselves and others the same way. Yes. I think that would be enough of a miracle from my perspective if everybody became like that, right, Rebecca? Absolutely. That would be beautiful.
And to me, it's almost like we are, we're biocomputers, but we're almost antennas. And it's where you hone your antenna and what you tune into. Right. And part of, the work Awakening to the Real You, we have a lot of ascension tools. And one of them is choice points. And it's just every day choosing to be more godlike and tune into that station. And that station will become clear, because that station is coherent energy. The other stations are entropy, incoherent, static. And then as soon as you start really tuning into that God station, it's just coherent energy. You get so much clarity. And you have choices there's so many different stations to tune into here.
Yeah, and that's true.
The choice points is a big one, as well as so many things about communing with nature and, holistic healing, so forth. So
yes. So I want to mention your website. We're almost at the end. Raisingthevibe.org and RebeccaParis.com. Both websites will be in the podcast notes. Okay. And before we end the conversation, is there anything that you left unsaid? Any questions that I didn't ask?
I guess I do believe that the people who are awakening now, there is a first wave of the awakening. And when we awaken, it's like the 100 monkey effect, if you've heard of that once there's so many people, because we are connected, we're like acupuncture points on the earth. And so the higher I can raise my frequency, it'll help everybody. And I think that's part of why we're here, is maybe some of the souls that came in on a mission trip knew at some level that they would create a life that was so crazy that they'd spur into awakening. And our service as way showers can help everybody else, because once your consciousness raises, it can help the whole, and we all have to rise together in this planet. So thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you so much. And regarding your services, I know you are a Gene Keys and spiritual guide, and you also run the nonprofit as the founder and executive president. So are these websites good to find you? Are both equally valid when it comes to connecting with you?
RebeccaParis.com is the main one. And I'm going to start rebranding, and I am an artist as well. So a lot of that was geared to my art, and I commissioned portraits. I'm now really I feel like this year is about rebranding and really focusing in on what am I really going to do. And that is to be a spiritual guide that helps people escape the matrix and find their authentic self, just as I have done. And that's where I think I'm going to be focusing my energy. So RebeccaParis.com is the best. Do one-on-one sessions. I can do Gene Keys readings. You pull your unique profile. It tells you so much about some of the challenges you're having as a human being and how to really get out of the shadow and to really embracing it to become your divine self and what's unique about you, which I love, the science and the spirituality mix there. And then I also talk about, I've been through the mothering issue. I've been through a conscious uncoupling, been through, stepping into my divine self. I'm adopted. I've been through separation, dealing with all that. So I really do a lot of one-on-one, guidance for people, a lot of mothers who are really finding their own power right now. And so that's the other specialty. But RebeccaParis.com is probably the best. Raising the Vibe was just done out as a service to humanity. It's a nonprofit. I just put a lot of resources in there. So you can go to that to find all the different self-actualization tools, the Akashic Record, learn about just little paragraphs on human design, the Gene Keys, Enneagram, to all the variety of holistic healing. And they just have definitions and then the ascension tool. So that's just a big resource hub for anybody who wants to learn how they can uniquely step into their authentic self and awaken.
Wonderful. So I'll have those two websites here. And I want to thank you again for your beautiful presence in this reality, for doing everything that you're doing. I know it's a lot of dance. So it's beautiful to see that. I always see like a flower blossoming. That's the visualization, the picture that comes to me. So thank you so much for saying yes to life at the core. Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you.
And we'll talk soon. We'll be in touch again soon. Thank you so much. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.